Hey everyone, this is Alicia, and today I'm going to go over how to run the two-way ANOVA workflow that is in the Explore page. So I have it here as well. I just have to go and find it. It's probably easier for me just to kind of say two and then bring it up here. So the data set we are working with in this two-way ANOVA workflow goes over 50 different individual fish species measured at 2 different temperatures and also 3 different pollution types, so high, moderate, and low. What we want to see is if there's a significant interaction between pollution type and temperature type, just temperature alone, and then just pollution alone. This will allow us to understand how these specific variables are affecting growth rate of these fish species. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Run Workflow, and it's going to hit Load the Default. You can bring your own data set in here if you'd like, but for this specific purpose, we're going to load this default data set. The second step in this workflow actually asks you to input a hypothesis. So for this, I actually have the default hypothesis here, so you can just copy and paste it if you'd like. So we're going to hit Submit. The next step in this workflow is having Julius list dependent and independent variables. So Julius has listed the dependent and independent variables along with the descriptive statistics down here. Now it's going to look at the assumptions. The assumptions for the two-way ANOVA is we have to have independent observations, normality of residues, homogeneity of variances, and no significant outliers. So Julius has then gone and run these specific tests just to make sure that our data set follows through or follows these assumptions. Has found that normality is great, homogeneity of variances is good, it passes, and we don't really have any outliers or significant outliers based on the box plots. And you can see, yeah, we have one outlier here, but it doesn't seem like any of the rest of the data set has anything, so that's perfect. So then Julius says that based on all these checks, we have all of our assumptions passed, so we can run the two-way ANOVA. So we can see that our temperature, we have the sum of squares, the degrees of freedom, the F value, and then this is our P value. So for temperature, we have a very significant P value. For pollution level, we do not have any significant values, and the same could be said with our temperature and pollution level interaction. If you don't really know how to read this, if that's okay, Julius gives a lovely interpretation of this and gives you a summary. So within this workflow, it does perform a post hoc test. But for this specific data set, you don't really need to do that. This is a very universal workflow. So if somebody uploads a data set that has a lot of different categorical variables and more than 2+, you're going to have to run this. So it ran it regardless. And you can see, yes, that's true. It then goes in to calculate the partial at a square for temperature. It had about a 0.133, which is considered a small effect size. I then ask it at the very end to provide some proper visualizations and summarize all the statistical findings. So at the end, we got a lovely summarization of everything. So this is the two-way ANOVA results. We got the interpretation of this. We got the post hoc test. You got the interpretations of that. It had the mean difference between the high and low. We have the confidence intervals. We have the negative values, the effect size. And it also brings in the assumptions checks of what we found, so the normality of residuals, our value associated, the homogeneity of variances, and then the summary of overall findings for us to read. And then it provides us with a nice box plot visualization that shows the temperature and the statistical significance between the two, suggesting that the low temperature, we have a smaller species growth values than the higher temperature here. I would have used an asterisk instead of the actual p-value, but that's okay. That's an easy fix. So this has been a walkthrough on how to run the two-way ANOVA workflow on the default data set with Julius.